Hello, Restoration. Brian Williams here. I am the lead pastor, and I want to welcome you to another edition of The Leftovers. And today I'm going to be actually eating Clayton's leftovers. Is that weird? Maybe a little bit weird that I'm eating his leftovers, but it's on the table. We got to eat it. It can't go to waste, right? And Clayton's a busy guy. He's a full-time guy, works full-time, and so he did a great job for us this past Sunday preaching the word. And digging into Romans 12 and discussing what change means and how we go about changing and the reason why we need to change and finding out the why behind all of it. And so he did a great job. I have his notes, but they're Clayton's notes. They're not my notes. And I just wanted to add just one thing to it. As he was preaching, I was reminded of this video I watched several years ago on why it's so hard to change, right? Do you ever find yourself, Clayton talked about this on Sunday about how the Apostle Paul wrote that he does the things he doesn't want to do and he doesn't do the things that he wants to do. It's this whole mess. We do the things that we don't want to do and we don't do the things that we're supposed to do, right? Change is a very hard thing. And there's actually some psychology and some science behind all of that, which I'm not even going to try to attempt to give to you guys. But I was watching this study. There's this video about why change is hard. And there are some scientists that did an experiment on children, which are my favorite kinds of experiments, right? If you can do it on a child. Experiment on children, all you want. You parents do that too. Don't judge me. But this experiment was, there were two sets of kids, right? And one set of kids got led into this room, and there were a box of cookies, or like a plate of cookies on the table. And the instructions were to not eat a cookie. Do not eat a cookie. Those were the only instructions. Don't eat a cookie. So the kids would sit there. I think it was only for like 15 minutes or something like that. They sat in this room and they did not eat the cookies. They certainly wanted to. They were delicious. They smelled delicious. Probably my mom probably made them, or my son Jordan. Those are the two best cooks that I know as far as baking is concerned. And so they didn't eat the cookies. And then they get into the next room and they're supposed to do a puzzle, like do a line drawing. It was impossible to do. Not a line drawing, a maze. That's what it's called. When you draw a line through different lines. It was a maze, and it was an impossible maze to get done. But they were supposed to try to get this maze done, and they didn't last very long in doing so. They didn't. They didn't have the willpower to do it anymore, to do this seemingly mundane task of finishing a maze. Then they brought in another group of kids. And this other group of kids sat at the table, but instead of putting cookies on the table, they put disgusting radishes. Which kid ever wants radishes? Unless you're Dwight Schrute. You don't want them. Right? I know he wanted beets, but whatever. He probably loved radishes too. But these kids sat around the table and they were instructed, probably laughably so, to not eat the radishes. So they had no problem whatsoever. They didn't take up any willpower. They didn't take up any mental energy trying not to eat the radishes. You dig? And then they went into this other room and also did the puzzle. And they lasted so much longer trying to get this puzzle done. So what we perceive as potentially laziness in some kids, we could say that the kids that were trying not to eat the cookies were being lazy and just not trying hard enough, right? Try a little bit harder. You can do this. What's wrong with you? Well, we don't know what's going on in somebody's head. We don't know what's going on in somebody's mind. We don't know what each person is battling. We don't know how exhausted they are. If you're an alcoholic, if you're a drug addict, if you're a sex addict, if you're addicted to work, if you're addicted to anything. Like Clayton said, everybody's an addict, right? So to try to change that takes an immense amount of mental energy, and we can be exhausted. And I think if we're transparent about that, if we're transparent about our exhaustion and about what we're trying to change, we'll have a better understanding with each other of like, oh, I understand you're probably tired because of this change that you're trying to make. Also want to say, don't try to change everything about yourself all at once, because then you're going to get overwhelmed and you're not going to do a single thing. It's like when you walk into the house and everything is messy and you're like, I can't do a single, I'm going to go watch Seinfeld. So that's my encouragement to you. Understand where people are coming from and give yourself a little bit of grace as we all try to change, especially in 2020. It's an insane time. Give yourself a little bit of grace. Give yourself a little bit of mercy. Know that God loves you. And let that be the fuel that spurs us to change. Tomorrow night, today's Wednesday, tomorrow, Thursday night, we've got tarps for pints. So bring a tarp or a sleeping bag into Right Brain Brewery. We'll give you a ticket and you will get a pint for $1, which is awesome. And then Sunday, we'll be back at Right Brain Brewery, 10 a.m. church service. I hope to see you guys there. We're starting a brand new series called A Mountain of a Message from a Mountain. And it's on the Sermon on the Mount. So we'll see you guys either tomorrow or Sunday. Take care.